All right, let's get into it. So today I am going to talk about swingers and exactly how I learned how to attack arrays, not just the swinger, but arrays. So one of the biggest things about as you progress through your activator sequences or attacking swingers, bobbers, those kinds of things, you have to understand the level of confidence is going to grow as you push yourself. So what you're gonna see here on the screen is you're gonna see an open piece of paper, a static steel that does not fall, an activated steel that falls and will activate a steel plate swinger by Targets USA. So what you're gonna see here is in this progression of throughout this video, you're gonna see how I attack these arrays. Now the number one thing and the biggest way to get better at these is to obviously practice them. Now, the only way to get better at swingers is to understand how to shoot a swinger. The only way to shoot a swinger accurately, including a piece of steel swinger, is that you have to actually aim the gun. You can't just send rounds at it. You actually have to aim the gun. Now, for me, personally, I tend to track every swinger that I shoot at. Even one that is technically a trapped swinger where it falls down and stops, I'm looking for a swinger to always be moving with the swinger to attack the A zone. Again, I'm trying to aim at the swinger. I'm never guessing. I'm never just pointing at a spot and just sending rounds. So in this scenario, obviously the plate is only 6 inches big, so I have to be able to aim at that to hit it. Now, how do I do that? The key to a swinger, whether it's paper or a piece of steel, is to aim in front of it. So in other words, if it's coming from left to right, I need to shoot the right side of the plate so that the bullet, by the time the bullet gets there, the steel comes into the bullet basically. So you're kind of shooting or leading the target is the key. So in this scenario, I have a much smaller target. I highly recommend that you start shooting or aiming with a small target. It will teach you to slow everything down. What happens is, brown becomes acceptable on swingers because you don't understand that you're actually not aiming at it. So if I'm shooting a swinger, I'm shooting the Charlie. If I'm shooting at a plate like this, I'm basically shooting the right edge of the steel plate, which will give me a dead center hit or just left of center. That is the goal, and that is the key, is to actually aim. So as we go through this array and kind of through these examples, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about in how I have to get on the swinger before it gets there. So and what does that mean? I need to aim and be ready before the swinger comes out, or I'm going to be behind. I'm going to be chasing it, and once you chase a swinger, you will always chase a swinger. It's almost impossible for you to slow your brain down and kind of get ahead of that steel again or that swinger again because you are in rush mode. Now, here's kind of a couple of tips about swingers and activators. This activator, especially a swinger, is going nowhere. It's going to come back. Yes, I understand that we want to shoot it on the first pass. We want to shoot it right away. The issue is when you rush it, you are going to miss, and it's going to take 10 times longer because of all the makeup shots. If you understand that that swinger isn't going anywhere, you will start to see the targets around that swinger as very important. So let me give you an example of kind of what most people will end up doing. They'll end up drawing on the activator, they hit the steel, and then they rush the second piece of steel to go back to the swinger. Well, what ends up happening is the swinger is going to stay there. It's not going anywhere. Even though it's moving, it's not going anywhere. So by not aiming at the steel, you end up making up shots or missing it and having to come back to it anyway, when it could have just given you a little bit extra time there to shoot that steel, and then it would have given you an opportunity to get ready for the swinger at your leisure. So what's going on is, what I mean by that is everybody rushes the activation sequence to get that thing moving, but they don't rush the transitions. They don't rush the get ready part. They rush the shooting, but they don't rush to get ready for the swinger when it first comes out. So I'm gonna shoot this in a couple of different ways so you can kind of see more or less the attack and kind of where it really matters. Now, one of the big things about swingers in general, and these are more about the arrays than anything else, is that I need to make sure that the vision is the most important thing on this. So what does that mean? That means when I draw and I hit the activator, my next target isn't a rush target. My next target is eyes, gun, stop, exit, right? So for me, I'm not taking a shot at the next piece of steel. I'm shooting an exit shot. So what that means is I'm exiting on the trigger pull so that I can be onto that swinger right away. So watch as I shoot this array. I'm gonna shoot the activator, steel, and then I'm gonna go to the steel plate immediately after that. Here we go. just like I said earlier, rushing the steel. I never stopped the gun. I saw the target and just swept it, ended up having to make an extra shot. That means the swinger took 2 passes when I could have been on it from the very, very beginning. So now I had that big, long delay there. So my total time was 363. That transition for my last shot was 1.37 seconds. And the reason why is because I wasn't ready when the steel got there. All right, when that activator happened, because of that makeup shot, it ended up costing me a ton of time. 1.37 seconds is a lot of time in a makeup shot. Let me go reset. So my hit was also dead center in the plate, just a little bit low there. So I need to aim just a little bit higher, but that was a dead center hit on that plate, but it was on the bracket that activates it, or makes it fall over. So I have it locked so I don't have to pick it up off the ground. That's one of the greatest things about Target USA Swinger is it is locked, so I don't have to pick this stuff up off the ground here. So, all right, here we go. Again, this time I'm gonna take just a hair longer to make sure I stop on that steel, and let's see what the time is, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here. Even with the fumbled reload or the fumbled draw, I went 1 for 1 and I'm just off the top left center of that activator. So my total time was 287. So it went from 363 to 287. And all I did was just take a hair longer on that piece of steel. Again, the swinger isn't going anywhere. So that means if I rush the piece of steel to get back to the swinger, I'm gonna take even longer to shoot the activated target. Again, it's all about understanding that that thing is going nowhere and time doesn't matter. Even if that swinger falls down and comes back, it's still my first pass. That's the key to understand is even though I know it's already passed by, it doesn't matter. I have something else that requires my attention. That swinger does not need to be rushed to or shot quickly. It has to be aimed at, and you have to understand that you're gonna shoot the steel to the right or the left, or the swinger to the right to the left. It doesn't matter. You're always aiming ahead or in front of the actual activated item. Whether it's a swinger or a piece of steel on a swinger, it doesn't really matter. You're always aiming ahead so that the swinger can come into your bullets. All right, so now I'm going to shoot activator, steel, plate, far left paper. Here we go. My first time was 374, so let's see if we can beat that. We're gonna be a little more aggressive here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There it was. I'll tell you what. Here's the crazy part about that run, and I haven't even looked at the time. I was extremely rushed on that swinger. I barely hit that steel. I hit it. It probably would have went over, but it is definitely extremely rushed there for me to get a good dead center hit on the left steel. My total time was 325, so a major risk there to do that, but I made it, right? So there's the push, right? Is it worth it to go get it? Again, this is an extremely small target, but this is the whole point. This is how you progress through swingers. You work your way from easy to hard until it becomes easier, all right? Now, the next array, I'm gonna shoot steel, activator, the steel, the paper, and then go back to the swinger. So let's see what we get here. Okay, so one of the big keys here is also I'm shooting all alphas on this paper. I don't want that to fall off just because now I've added it to the array of things that I have to shoot. So we're gonna start off with activator, steel, paper, and then into the activated steel swinger part here, okay? So again, I'm gonna go for a lot more shots before the swinger. So to me, I'm predicting that the swinger is gonna be on the right side and it's gonna be coming left. So I need to, as I finish that piece of paper, I need to drive to the right and then work my way back left, which is actually one of the hardest transitions there is in this sport, is to go from one direction and then start back again to get to it. Here we go, see where we're at. Again, the last one was 325. 325 with all hits, all good hits. Woo, dead center punch that time. I really waited on that swinger a lot though. I waited on that swinger a lot. So that time it was 340. We went from a 370, I believe it was a 370. That was a 325 for steel plate, and then a 340 for this run here. My draw was 122, 123, and then the other one I had a 140. I had a kind of a bumbled draw there. But again, this is the key here, is that I have very similar results in all 3 runs. One I was extremely comfortable in. Actually, 2 of them I was extremely comfortable in, and 1 I was extremely rushed. But again, that's what you want to push so that this becomes easier and easier and easier. The key here is also that not only did I have no misses on the swinger, but I was able to be ahead of the swinger every single time, and I'm aiming the gun to the right or to the left of the plate and getting my hits and accuracy on that swinger. Again, the key is to be in front of it. But if you want to progress through swingers, you have to come out and you've got to put arrays like this up, and you've got to test your sequence. You've got to test the ability to move off targets, get off steel, get onto that activated target before it comes out so that you can start aiming at it earlier. Now again, the other thing that you can start to progress through is you can start trying to shoot the activated target in 1 pass with 2 shots. You want to talk about crazy fast? Let's give it a try here. Here we go. I hit 2 on the same pass, but it took me 3 shots to hit the steel on the left. 461. I got to do that again, but I'll tell you what, I'm very happy with the 2 shots on the swinger. I lost control on that piece of steel. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This is a great example. Even though I'm showing you this video and even though I'm showing you exactly what not to do, this is what happens when you rush to get back to the swinger. Exactly what happens when you rush the target before the swinger. It puts you in a massive rush. It actually costs you so much extra time to not just stay calm and wait for that swinger to come to you. Instead, me trying to get to that swinger and me trying to control the shooting is what actually kills you in this array. All right, I'm gonna give this one more shot because I can't go off on that. There it is, there it is, there it is. Now, I was late on the first pass. Total time was 4:19. Late on that first pass is where I missed the swinger. I was chasing the swinger. This time, I missed the first shot, and as soon as it went away, I was settled, ready to aim on the left side of the steel, and then I just 1, 2, took me right into the piece of paper. Now, let's talk a little bit about where I kind of made a failure here. Not just that, like obviously, I'm chasing it, trying to do something more aggressive than obviously this array will allow. I ended up shooting an Alpha Charlie on the next piece of paper because even though I executed the swinger, I lost visual focus after that swinger. I was so focused on hitting it that I forgot what the rest of the array is. These are the things where these little arrays like this, you can spend thousands of hours, thousands of bullets, and always find something to get better at. Again, I'm starting to try to attack this swinger. This target, I think this swinger is about 15 yards right now. I am trying to attack this swinger with 2 shots in 1 pass, trying to shoot as many targets as I can before it even comes out, until to the point where I'm actually chasing the target. That's when you have to start to learn how much is too far, how much you're pushing, and where in a major match, it might not be worth pushing to shoot all 3 of these to get to that activator or get to that activated steel. The key here is to be in front of that swinger, be ready for when it comes out, but don't be hanging out waiting for it forever, or you're gonna end up losing in time anyway. All right, if you got any questions, hit me up in those comments, and I'll see you on the range.